Seamless. Welcome, everybody, to the week 6 of the 4for4 DFS MVP podcast. I'm your host, John Breslin. You may know me as Scroll Patrol, joined again by Pat Carrain, back from the bye, Davis Maddock, Neil Orfield. Guys, last week we were so down on Justin Fields. I was just rewatching the show we did last week, and we were also negative on Justin Fields, and we were so right for 3 quarters, and then things just blew up for us. How's everybody's week 5?
Yeah, would have been a lot better if not for that fourth quarter. I mean, not that I had anything all that live, but I think I would have min cashed a lot more without the Justin Fields. He should have been benched. Let's be honest. He should have just been benched in that game. Those were BS points.
Or should they let him throw the ball in the first quarter?
Oh, that's an
Let me play devil's advocate. Should they? I believe he has 24 first quarter pass attempts and over 80 fourth quarter pass. It's some insanely skewed statistic like that.
I played Justin Fields. It was a good week. I finished 7th in the power sweep, which was nice. And I had a little bit.
Swapped, though.
Well, the swap would have ruined me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had the decision of whether or not to play Jamar Chase or swap to something more comfortable. I did play Chase. That was, I mean, you want to talk about a rough first couple quarters. My God. But yeah, it was one of those weeks where you kind of needed everything, which I didn't quite have, but it was still a good week. And Justin Fields, he puts up fantasy points
at 40% ownership in single entry, 30% in the million maker, and did nothing for 3 quarters. But on to week 6, we have another 10-game slate on tap. I think 2 teams on a bye, but we're getting probably another international game. So I think there's something at 9:30 on Sunday. But like previous weeks, the highest scoring game is off the slate on Monday night, I think, or Sunday night. So every game below 50 points.
Honestly, thank God that game is not on the main slate. Detroit, Kansas City. I actually don't need that on the main slate for my own sweating purposes.
I agree. I prefer when you don't have one game that dominates in points, because it just becomes a binary decision. It's like Coors Field slate, right? Binary decision of do you go with the chalk, the chalky high scoring game, or do you fade it? And we've had pretty compact groups of lines. I think this week we have 2 games below 44.5, but everything else is 43, 44, and between 44 and 99, basically 49, basically. So pretty grouped totals, but again, some big spreads. So implied point totals are all over the board. But yeah, we'll start with the game environments, and Neil, we'll start with you. Any particular game environments jumping off the page for you?
Yeah, I mean, with all of these games being so close in their totals, the one that stands out to me is when you're going to get some value. So Carolina is, they're projecting for a lot of points, similar to a lot of other teams, but those other teams have star players that are going to be more expensive because they're generally better. Carolina just in a great matchup, so you can play it without actually spending a ton of money. So I really love that Carolina Dallas game environment quite a bit. Dallas just kind of a fun team, bad defense, good offense. Those are always slot fest, could be a lot of fun. So that one's kind of the first one that jumps off the page to me, even though there are several that are honestly really close here. LA Rams and Baltimore, I like one side of it. Same with Packers, Cincinnati. It's so we have a lot of those where it's love a team but don't really love. Same thing with the Chargers. I don't really love Miami, but I do love the Chargers. So it's kind of tough from a finding actual game environments that I totally love. Other than Carolina, Dallas, that one really stands out to me as my favorite game environment. And other than that one, I don't think there are any game environments that as of right now I'm planning on jamming. So maybe I need you guys to talk me into some.
Yeah, no, that with Carolina, Dallas, Dallas has been relevant, I think, every fantasy week, or at least relevant in fantasy every week, allowing, close to the most points in the league, and then scoring close to the most points in the league. And that game's got a high total. Might see the return of Jalen Coker as well on the Panthers side. So yeah, I think that's a good one.
That's what they're missing.
Yeah, Jalen Coker. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The missing key. Pat, how about you? Game environments, anything sticking out to you?
Yeah, so I was excited about the Dallas one to kind of kick things off. For the walkthrough, I always have the cover boy and to kind of pick out my favorite game and have that right at the top of the article from the 1 o'clock slate. And I kind of assumed it would be the Cowboys Panthers. As I dug into it, I got a little bit nervous about that game because of the way the Panthers have been playing recently and really tilting to the run. Aggressively over the last couple weeks, running the ball, and you can run the ball on the Cowboys, and then the Cowboys are kind of balanced and have been playing to the script that's in front of them a little bit. So I would prefer them to be kind of pushed. I actually think it's kind of similar to last week's game with the Jets, where like there should be plenty of points. It's not that I don't like the Dallas pieces, but I was kind of like hoping to come into this being like, oh man, this team's gonna this game environment's gonna be like super fun. But I feel like it's maybe a little bit more fragile and maybe a little bit easier to play through the running backs as opposed to the passing games than I was assuming coming in. I actually kind of sneaky like the Seahawks and the Jaguars game environment. You've got injuries on the back end for the Seahawks. We saw that Tampa Bay just had success against them last week. The Jaguars offensive line has played really well this year. And so in order to put up points on the Seahawks defense, you have to pass protect well. They have a really good pass rush, but if they're banged up on the back end, we can get some big plays. We've got 2 big play receivers on Jacksonville. Things are going to be a little bit more condensed probably with Strange out now. And then on the other side, you have Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's like as locked in a target earner as there is outside of Puka Nacua. And the only thing that he doesn't have is volume in terms of an overall drop back. So, like, what if there was more drop back volume this week? Like at some point, I think he's going to go absolutely nuclear because he's going to be in the right game environment. This is sort of a sneaky spot to make that bet, I think. So that's a really fun one. And then I kind of like the Rams, even though they're not going to get pushed. They have a really high implied team total. And this Baltimore secondary is just so banged up and not good. They can't rush the passer at all. So Kyle Hamilton should be back this week, which will help. But I think the Ravens play a ton of man coverage. Puka feasts against everything, but Adams has been awesome against man coverage as well. So this is a really good spot for both Rams receivers.
I think well, I'll just say like this. I think this Seattle Jacksonville call is like unique, but it's actually really interesting because it's tied for the second highest game total. I really would.
I'm worried. That's what I was about to say. Is I'm worried it's not, because let this be the first, last, or middle of many fantasy football podcasts are going to make this point. Fantasy analysts love a good cluster injury situation because it's really easy to stack your mind on. You go, oh, well, the coach is worried about it. Mike McDonald was at his press conference saying, I'm worried about these defensive injuries stacking up. So it's really easy for us to gravitate towards that. But, John, at the end of the day, it's about the Jims and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. Seattle is calling their game plan the same way. The only way in which you're going to get that game, because Cohen is not going to want to have like a crazy PROE here either. Like that's kind of a mistake. Or a logical fallacy that people make is with, good offensive coordinator means pass heavy. But a lot of like really good offensive NFL coordinators, what they're doing now is they're actually getting really creative in the run game, and they're designing a lot of cool concepts for their rushers, which is what is happening with Clint Kubiak and also what is happening with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm totally with Karain. I think that game's awesome. I love JSN. I love Brian Thomas Jr. Hunter Long as kind of like a cool one.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
But I
am on the
worried.
Passing stuff. They do have a positive pass rate over expected, 2%. They're playing fairly fast. I would compare them to like the Rams or maybe the Vikings before this year, where like they're like fundamentally about balance and they want to get the run game going too, but they're not like stubborn about getting the run game going, even though the run game is the coolest stuff they're doing and the most effective stuff they're doing so far this year has been the run. But the Seahawks are second in rushing DVOA, second best. They're third in EPA. They're fifth in success rate. So I actually do think this is a spot where a smart offensive coordinator, smart offensive-minded head coach would go, hey, this defense is good at everything except stopping the pass downfield. Let's attack them there. Like I don't think that will be lost on Liam Cohen.
Yeah. The other game, Crane, and I'm surprised you didn't lead with this. How about the New England Patriots traveling to play at the New Orleans Saints? Spencer Rattler, happy to be positive PROE. They got nothing on the ground. Like Alvin Kamara, turns out auto drafting Alvin Kamara in the 4th round of a high stakes fantasy football draft is not
good.
Great way.
Just
although,
as bad as we were worried it was.
Although Amarian Hampton, ankle injury, so it's going to be okay.
I'd still rather have Hampton.
You've got the return of Wildcat Taysom Hill. You've got Drake May, who just went toe to toe Josh Allen last week. He's 4th in EPA plus CPOE composite. And maybe we get Trevion Henderson explosion week in the Dome against the New Orleans Saints. I like that spot.
Honestly, Davis, it's kind of like when you've been a fan of a band for a while, and then they go mainstream, and it's like, oh yeah, like everyone's into Drake May these days.
Seeing the Fantasy Pros account tweet about Rashid Shaheed last week, I was like, you guys were not with me at Eastern Kentucky, bro. Come on, I need you. The Shaheed is my guy.
So yeah, I think the New England New Orleans game definitely one we want to consider. I think it's I'm always a sucker for like an indoor game environment, and probably play way too much of the Saints. I think the one that nobody mentioned, I don't think anybody mentioned, but like Tampa Bay, San Francisco. I mean, I think Chris Godwin being out is going to make it easier to play Baker Mayfield. There's consolidated targets probably. So I think that's one to keep in mind. But yeah, we really do have some close game totals. There's really nothing that super jumps off the page. Maybe more just a couple of like spots we want to be careful with, like Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Is the odd man out in terms of the totals. But we'll move on to the quarterback position. We'll give Pat another chance to talk up Drake May. I know that now that he's popular, not as edgy, but yeah. Thoughts on the quarterback position?
Yeah, no, I do like Drake May. Give me 1 second. Let me get my sheet sorted.
Actually, I'll break in with some injury news. Chuba Hubbard officially out. Jalen Coker officially a game time decision. And looks like Kyler Murray actually is going to start. So maybe Trey McBride a little bit more in play than he would have been if Jacoby Brissett was going to get the start. But yeah, we'll go. Yeah, Pat, your thoughts on quarterback?
Yeah, I like Drake May. I also like that. We had the Stephon Diggs emergence last week, and looking back at his numbers the week before, they were really good too. So this is now 2 weeks in a row where he's had his targets per out run 2 weeks ago, 39%. Last week was 52% because he only ran a route on 64% of dropbacks, but up to 82% 2 weeks ago, which was a season high. Clearly, he's turned a corner in terms of the health. He has a good connection with May. So it's nice to have him coming alive as well as Hunter Henry. And then this is like a great spot for May. One of the things about him is that, like, as much as I like him and he's crushing in almost every way, he does take sacks. He's got the third highest pressure to sack rate this year. And that was a red flag coming in. And his offensive line has been like okay. And I think they're kind of mitigating. It's a well-designed offense now, and they're doing some good things. But this is not a spot where I want him against elite pass rushers. Thankfully, his schedule's like insanely easy, so there's going to be a lot of spots where he can play him this year. But the spots when he shows up and the opposing pass rush is very weak, I think he like disproportionately benefits from that compared to the average quarterback, because he takes sacks and his offensive line is worse than it looks on paper. And the Saints can't rush the passer. They're dead last in pressure rate. They're second worst in quick pressure rate. They're dead last in PFF's pass rush grades. They're second worst in pass rush win rate. So this is a spot where May should have time to throw. And a lot of his rushing value comes as a scrambler, and he's a willing scrambler. He doesn't need to be pressured. If he sees open field, he'll take off. So, the ability for them to drop back, run the offense through the pass, and then him to have time to throw is all just very, very appealing. So I like him a lot. I do like Trevor Lawrence quite a bit this week. I think, that game environment is pretty interesting. And I like Sam Darnold. I think playing that game environment from both sides is pretty. I mean, Darnold's been like really good. I did not think he would be good in Seattle. Like I thought he would wash out this year, honestly. But he's been awesome. His success rate's like the highest in the league. His EPA per game is up there with the top guys. And the EPA per game number is interesting because EPA per play doesn't penalize you for volume, but EPA per game does. And they don't really pass the ball that much, but he's still up there with the top guys because he's been so efficient on a per play basis. That I think points to the idea of like, hey, what if there was a game environment, like last week where they actually had to throw?
It happened last week.
It happened last week, yeah. So, but what if there was that game environment and I played it in DFS? So that's kind of what I'm thinking with Darnold, JSN. But then the Jaguar side of this very interesting. I think Bryce Young is probably in play. Is a pretty strong play as well, given that game environment. He's only 4,800.
He's going to be in play until you show up, and he's the third most owned quarterback of the slate.
I don't like that. And I do like the Baker call, but I'll throw it to you guys.
David, so yeah, you want to continue with quarterbacks?
I mean, so just like enough of Daniel Jones being the best sim ROI quarterback every single week. Like my lineup in the SPY last week, like post contest sims was like in like 170% sim ROI, just like flames on everyone. And then they're up 1 billion points and they're giving Amir Abdullah touchdowns. They're giving Jonathan Taylor a third touchdown. My friend Jacob Sanderson is a Colts fan, and he thinks that the team wants Jonathan Taylor to win Offensive Player of the Year. So maybe that's on me for being stubborn and continuing to do Dimes and Tyler Warren together. Whatever. And an angle I do really like is Jordan Love. Jordan Love double stacked this week, and you got two paths there, which is like they just run absurdly hot in the first half and Josh Jacobs doesn't score. Joe Flacco unexpectedly makes it a game. Or I guess the third least likely path is LaFleur is like, dude, this is so annoying. We lost to the Browns. We tied to the Cowboys. We need Jordan Love to be at his best if we want to win a Super Bowl. Like, let's go have fun. Let's build some confidence. Let's throw for 300 yards. Let's throw for 5 touchdowns, which anyone can do against the Bengals, by the way. Like, Bengals defenders in the second half of games have just like given up. They're looking over at their sideline like, what's the point? Like they're questioning their existence. By
Jamar Chase gave up last week and then like went off. Like but he was like he had given up in the process.
Did you catch the quote from the Lions defender after that game that helped you get 7th in the power sweep?
No.
The defensive back guarding Jamar Chase on that 64-yard touchdown said, dude, we were just bored. Like I was trying to bait Jake Browning into interceptions. Bored. He said they were trying to actively bait Browning into throwing them interceptions, and he just got lazy when Chase got behind him.
Thank you for having fun.
What do we think about Joe Flacco? He's not minimum price, but he was able to stay in state, right?
So he is minimum price. He's 4,000.
Was it?
He is minimum price. He's 4,000. I think that is QB minimum price.
I thought he was like 4,200 or something, like not stone cold minimum. Maybe it's 4,000. I think I was looking at somebody else. But yeah, I don't know. I think the Jordan Love call is interesting. But then of course, we have to get to the absurd plays as well. So I think Jordan Love is the play that will be like we'll think on Monday like, oh, that was so obvious, right? Highest implied point total, playing the Bengals defense. Like we just thought it was going to be Josh Jacobs, but yeah, why can't it be Jordan Love? Then to throw out the absurd play, Joe Flacco. So yeah, Neil, thoughts on Flacco or any other quarterbacks? We prefer the out there off the radar plays.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you get there because he's 4,000. I don't see myself getting into a ton of Joe Flacco. We did just see Dallas had success against this Packers defense through the air. So maybe Flacco is capable of throwing up some moon balls to Chase and Higgins. I've played worse plays, so I think maybe somebody that I'll have in a 150 set, but not a priority for me. Again, going back to and Pat just said that scared me off it a little bit, talking about how he thinks it might be run heavy, but I still think that Dallas, Carolina, there are ways that this could go where it could be really positive. So I still think I'm gonna and not getting like crazy high ownership either. Both are projected for like under 7% ownership. So I think with Bryce Young being 4,800, also like he's shown the ability to run a little bit. I actually like Bryce Young a bit in this matchup against Dallas, who just has not stopped anybody. I mean, they almost stopped Justin Fields, but they have not really stopped anybody so far. And maybe the offense does. Maybe Jalen Coker gets in there and plays a bit and could improve the offense a bit. Tommy Tremble could look pretty good. And then Rico Dowdle can be involved in the passing game. So I think Bryce Young kind of interested. And then I actually really like Dak Prescott is the one that I just think they have a really good offense. And if their defense does allow points to Carolina, they could go off also. So that is one that game environment is one where I really like both quarterbacks. But then the other one that I need to throw out is I'm going back to Justin Herbert after he let me down in a massive way last week against Washington. He was a big part of my plans last week. I'm going there again. I think Miami is so bad. Everybody's going to put up points on Miami, even with their beat up offensive line. I think that this might be a spot where they're able to succeed anyway.
I had two quarterbacks that I wanted to bring up. One of them was Justin Herbert. Just the idea they're now down their top two running backs. But and so do we want to try to figure out the Chargers running back situation? But I think the Chargers don't even want to figure out their own running back situation. They're just going to let Justin Herbert throw it even more. The offensive line is a concern. But the other quarterback I wanted to bring up, and index of suspicion in the chat, bringing up that Kyler Murray is practicing. I think they said he's expected to play barring a setback. Any interest in Kyler Murray going up against the Colts indoors? Maybe Murray plays his home games indoors. I'm getting a vigorous head shake from Davis.
Maybe the Colts defense. That would be my interest.
All right,
it's enough, dude. It's like maybe 1 week he'll run 2 touchdowns in, but like he seems like a bad fit for the Drew Petzing offense, and it's just not really getting much better.
Yeah. I'd also like the PSA on Flacco. That I know they beat the Packers a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever, but he was awful. Like he had a 20th percentile EPA per play, 8th percentile success rate in that game. I noted after that game, I was like, this dude's wins aside, wins aren't going to save him. If he plays like this, he's going to get benched. And then he got benched after the following game. I think Flacco gets wrecked here. My concern with the Love call would be that it is just Jacobs. Obviously, it's an interesting pivot, but that's I think the Flacco Packers killer narrative is one that I'm fully not buying.
Yeah, I'll say that I think maybe the Flacco thing is something to keep in mind for Jamar Chase. That I think Flacco might have nothing to lose at this point. Then from just throwing the ball down to Jamar Chase. But yeah, he's playing the Packers defense is probably the best call. The second best call is maybe working in some Jamar Chase. And, if you're doing multiple lineups, and then the call down the line is maybe Joe Flacco at 4,000.
Sure.
But we'll move on to the running back position. Davis, we'll start with you. What do you like in the ground game?
I mean, the conversation is Rico Dowdle, and then who else are you playing? Revenge game against the Dallas Cowboys. Can't believe that we're here in this spot. Oh, they're 3.5 point home.
I forgot it was a revenge game. Yeah.
Well, and famously, I mean, they cut him after only his
second year. That's not done.
Yeah, John. There was a moment on the show last year where Corain didn't realize that Dowdle had been on the Cowboys practice squad for 3 years before.
He broke out, Davis, like a second-year player.
Oh yeah, I didn't realize he was on there for 3 years.
Yeah,
he's on his second contract in the NFL. Yeah. He's
Wiley
27.
Yeah.
Rico Dowdle's backfield mate at South Carolina is a regional manager of a Coca-Cola distribution facility. If anyone was interested in why Rico Dowdle took a long time to break out in the NFL,
that is some research. You're going into LinkedIn.
Yeah, I never think to research people's college teammates.
Yeah. Tavion Feaster, more rushing yards than Rico Dowdle. Their final season in South Carolina, two paths diverting. Then you have to ask yourself, okay, do I do the Gene T thing? Do I just accept that I'm going to get 22 points from Gene T this week, or do I aim even higher and say I'd like to get Christian McCaffrey's 25 points and maybe he scores a touchdown and gets to 32? Do I hope that Jonathan Taylor gets that third touchdown this week because he's more expensive? I actually think Jacobs is probably kind of bad. Maybe hot take, but Jacobs gets two. I'm telling you right now, Jacobs starts the game with 2 touchdowns. How many fantasy points does he get? Does he get 30?
At least 17.
At least 17, right? You're like, Jacobs literally might get 2 touchdowns and not even sniff optimals on DraftKings. Then you have Rashad White, honestly, the key of the slate is okay, well, does McCaffrey score? Or does he not?
Yeah.
I can't answer that.
He's been in such a tight range of DraftKings scoring the whole year, right? Between 23 and 27 DraftKings points, which is great-ish. I liked it a lot more at 7,300 than I do at 8,400. But I agree. It's just a question of he's going to have a game that breaks out of that range. Is it a 35-point game, or is it a 16-point game? And if it's a 16 at 8,400, you're just tanked. But yeah, if it's the 35-point game, 8,400 is still not a bad price tag. Neil, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks great. We don't have quite the same week that we had last week with so many. We had really elite top end options and then really elite value options and a pretty strong mid range. So we had so many great options on the slate last week. I'm not really seeing it the same this week. I think that we have some options that I really like. But I do think, McCaffrey, even at the higher price tag, looks really good here against Tampa Bay. Just because of the volume there, I think he's going to get all the work he can handle once again. So I think McCaffrey looks like one of the top spend ups. I am out on the position that Josh Jacobs is a bad play this week. I think Josh Jacobs is a phenomenal play because he's only 7,300. I think he's going to get all of the work there. I think, and I think you have to assume that he's going to be more efficient on his touches. So he's already got a pretty strong workload. He's been inefficient so far this year, but then you put him against this Cincinnati defense. I think Josh Jacobs looks phenomenal here.
It's more a question of how many quarters, right? It's more a question of like, is Emmanuel Wilson getting whole series in the third quarter?
I think he gets it at least through 3 quarters. I think like it's rare for a running back to be pulled in like the early third quarter, like maybe like the final drive of the third quarter he gets pulled, but like you don't see it that often where a starting running back.
I just have like literally the lowest opinion of the Cincinnati Bengals. Like I think this is like the worst coach team I've ever seen.
I mean, I also have the lowest opinion of the Cincinnati Bengals, but that's why I think that Josh Jacobs is going to be able to smash in whatever time he does get here, even if it is 3 quarters.
The key word there that he used is efficiency, right? Like how it's not easy to tackle Josh Jacobs as it is. If you're a bored Cincinnati Bengals defender, how easy is it, or how likely are you to like tackle Josh Jacobs? Like if he gets 14 rushes, is that 130 yards or or
Right.
70 and 2 touchdowns?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm going back because Davis like sold me against Josh Jacobs, and then Neil, you just like sold me right back on.
Okay, good.
Yeah, they're not going to
fight this. Yeah, I think it's a really, because it's only 7,300. Like if it was the same price as McCaffrey, then I would say like, yeah, let's make the case against it. But
he's $1,000 more expensive than Kyren Williams, who also probably starts this game with 2 touchdowns.
I mean, that is fair. Like Kyren, I also think looks great. So don't get me wrong.
Yeah, Kyren looks really good.
Yeah,
I like Jacobs though too. Jacobs has gotten a little bit of targets recently, and he hasn't been an efficient runner this year. But this defense is so bad. It's so bad, and like. I know we want to tell ourselves a story where like the Packers, they lose to the Browns. That should have been a wake-up call, but then they tie with the Cowboys. Then they head into their bye. So soul searching and we probably got tight there. We need to like open things up. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to come and do exactly what they want to do. Matt LaFleur has been very consistent. They're overly conservative. They want to I think it's part of like the idea with Love. Like it's sort of like he's kind of hurtsy, like where they're trying to do like the play action stuff, the run and the pass game married up. And it's like, I don't think they ever want to just like have Love drop back a bunch of times and like put it on his shoulders. Like the Chargers did with Justin Herbert to open the year. Like, I don't think they're interested in that. And so we probably see a ton of Josh Jacobs here. I think that's like by far the most likely scenario. He's not like an absolute smash because he'll come with ownership, but I think he's a good play.
I'll say I like Kyren more at the ownership price discrepancy than Jacobs.
I think that's fair. Yeah,
that is fair. I have no issue with that.
Actually, index of suspicion bringing up a good point. Could have like rain and high winds in Baltimore, so maybe a bump to Kyren Williams.
Body blows with Kyren Williams.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there's we should be considering like a Ram in every lineup, right? Like it's going to be either Puka or Kyren Williams, and if it's not Puka and not Kyren Williams, then it's probably Devontae Adams. But maybe the chances of it being Kyren Williams kind of go up if it's just raining and windy in Baltimore. The Rams probably don't want to take a lot of chances. If they score first or second touchdowns, maybe just hand the ball off to Kyren Williams. Although Blake Corum probably mixing in as well.
And if Kyren fumbles, 3 times, I think it could be Blake Corum's time now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe 4.
Maybe 4, yeah.
But if Corum fumbles once, done for a couple of games.
Yeah, right. And then we'll see Jarquez Hunter. If we get 5 fumbles out of those 2, we'll see some Jarquez Hunter.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. All right. We should move on to the wide receiver position, Neil. I think we'll start with you. Sorry, take you away from the water. But yeah, so just some rain for Puka, so that takes away. Well, it doesn't take away, but maybe a little bit of a downgrade to our guy that's been one of our top options. Jackson Smith and Jigba, of course, also up there among the wide receivers. What are your thoughts on the wideouts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all starts with the Rams, like you said. Like Puka just looks awesome. Devontae looks awesome. Yeah, we will have to pay attention to the weather. It is Friday, so things could change between now and Sunday. But yeah, it would hurt. Like it's one of those things. Like I talk about this a lot. Like you just don't want added variables when you have a spot that is so good, like against this completely depleted Baltimore defense and an awesome condensed offensive situation for the Rams. Like you would prefer it to be great weather. You want it to be in a dome because it is like the perfect situation. You don't want anything that could possibly take away from the game environment. So yeah, you don't love the if there is bad weather, I will probably dock them a little bit, but probably not enough that I'm even below the field. I mean, we've got Puka Nacua, getting around a quarter of lineups are playing Puka Nacua. Devontae Adams, I'm seeing in single digit ownership. I guess he's 6,700. So can't argue too much. I think they both look great. I'll have a good amount of both. Again, I'm going to be going to the Chargers receivers. QJ has been a limited participant the past couple of days, so it's possible that QJ misses this game. In which case, we'll lean on just Ladd and Keenan Allen.
Surely, I'll be responsible with Ladd McConkey in that.
Yeah, no doubt. We're not gonna slam Ladd McConkey in that case. But yeah, regardless, I think if all three are healthy, I think you can play all three, mix and match. I don't have a strong opinion on like who is the best play as of right now, but I think all three are going to be a big part of my portfolio. As far as one-ups, I think I did have Jalen Tolbert is going to be my like crazy large field tournament play of the day. Just running all the routes in a great game environment. I think at some point we're going to see the Jalen Tolbert explosion.
Is Turpin not back this week?
I don't think he's back. He was on the. Yeah, I think he's gonna be out again.
Yeah, and it looks like
he saw a route reduction last week. By the way,
Tolbert, no, 88% last week.
Well, total snaps he played less. Sorry, my bad. My fantasy life plus subscription relapsed, so I literally have PFR.
Yeah, I was wondering why you're referencing snaps recently because you're talking about Zach Ertz's snap rate. I was like, yeah, I mean, who cares though? He's a big receiver.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the fantasy points data suite. They have the last three games for Jalen Tolbert in terms of route participation: 87%, 78%, 88%. So he's been consistently running a ton of routes. We've seen him get targeted 6 times in one of those games. Now it's a great matchup with Carolina, and he's super cheap.
I've got a
not
better
getting any
shitter
ownership.
for you, Neil.
Doubt it. Yeah, let's hear it.
$3,700. Dontavian Wicks. Christian Watson already ruled out not playing this week.
I mean, yeah, I have no issue with Dontavian Wicks. I don't think I like it better, but I think I like it just fine. I mean, let's see. What's the route participation for Dontavian Wicks? Maybe I haven't. 61% last week, 61% the week before that. And like they could just get game scripted out of throwing it. So that's my concern there. But I don't hate it. Like I think that's a good call for a large field tournament.
Sterling Shepard's right there at 3,800. no Chris Godwin.
Fair point. Yeah.
Tez is third.
We'll move to you for wide receivers. Anybody like in the cheap range or more expensive?
I just want to toss out one idea that I've said on every show this week, and literally not one person has agreed with me. But JSN is $1,100 cheaper on DraftKings and less owned than Puka. Isn't this like a crazy week to just be like, you know what? I'll let Puka get his 22 points, which he is for sure going to get. And instead, I'm going to take JSN, hope JSN gets 24, but I save the $1,100. Like, I own DraftKings. I don't play that many teams. I'll play like 3 or 5 teams. And I'm wondering if I can get anyone to co-sign on this JSN over Puka take.
I'll do it. Yeah. Especially if the weather is bad. Like, because like JSN is like Puka Jr., right? But like and people are going to want to attack the Ravens defense. But like if the weather is bad, like they're just going to run it. Maybe it is like Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. But I think JSN can absolutely outscore Puka. Pat, yeah, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, Jason, like I said, he's the cover boy. So I was about to do a whole JSN thing. So yeah, I mean, but I mean, I like the comparison to Puka. Puka's obviously an incredible play, but you do have the weather with JSN. You get the similar role. You also get the similar cluster of injuries element, right? We're going against this Baltimore defense in part because they can't stop. They can't stop anybody because they don't have their players. But they do, like, Baltimore's kind of, to some extent trending in the right direction because they get Kyle Hamilton back this week. I think they might get Marlon Humphrey back. That's less clear. But you know, they're still pretty banged up. Nnamdi Madubuike's out for the year. That's a big loss. But the Seahawks, they have Reek Woolen is working back from a concussion. He's been limited both days, but he's not that great. Devin Witherspoon has been DNP both days. We don't have Friday yet. He's like a big deal. Like losing him at cornerback is a problem. Then Julian Love, their starting safety, is out both days with a hamstring injury. So I'm guessing they're down both Love and Witherspoon, maybe Reek Woolen. So that's 2 cornerbacks and a safety out. Like you're getting that same element, but it's like because it's the first week, or like maybe 1.5 weeks where they've had these big injuries in the secondary. It's probably like we'll probably tout it all week and people will get wise to it. But you know, the Baltimore one is kind of like in the fantasy bloodstream now. Like everyone knows, like, oh, Baltimore's defense is banged up. We attack Baltimore's defense, but Seattle, we were working against this reputation where they're actually like a great defense, like one that you don't want to target. So how about Davis? We do the JSN over Puka, and then we add in Devontae Adams as direct leverage off Puka because, as I was mentioning earlier, Adams has roasted man coverage this year, and even over the last couple weeks with all the injuries, the Ravens are 4th in man coverage rate, and they're 5th on the season. So they play a ton of man coverage. I think this could be a spot for Adams, and maybe that's why Puka doesn't bury us.
Brian Thomas Jr. on the other side as a bring back. Matthew Golden, Teteroy McMillan, Emeka Egbuka. These are just all guys.
George Pickens, a nice play.
I got one more. Let's assume Pearsall out, Jennings plays. Kendrick Bourne or Juwan Jennings?
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah. I think that's probably right. It's just like who gets to be the Shanahan cheater, right? Because like Shanahan can just cheat one guy to like 20 fantasy points, and I don't think it's that knowable which one. Like I assume it's Jennings who gets to play the glitch position, but I wouldn't bet my life on it.
Are they the same price?
5,800 versus 5,000.
Yeah.
Bourne is the 5,000. Juwan Jennings is 4,800.
Insane.
Give me Jennings there.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Do you guys think he plays? He was limited yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He sounded like he wanted to play on Thursday last week. He said he's like, I'm going to be out there. And then it sounded like the team doctors wouldn't let him go. Jamar Chase literally listed as questionable with illness, by the way, might not play.
My Joe Flacco, Jamar Chase stack. Taking a hit. I'm going to downgrade.
Saving you from yourself.
Yeah. All right. Some thoughts on wide receiver. I guess like how high are people on Ted McMillan? We're waiting for the breakout. Like it's got to happen at some point. Facing a Dallas defense seems like the prime opportunity. Some leverage off of Rico Dowdle. Can I like sell anybody on like Ted McMillan? Like the idea, like maybe Ted McMillan should be that like your highest owned wide receiver.
I like Ted McMillan quite a bit. I don't think that I would go quite to that extent, just because the ownership is there. So it's not like you're getting a contrarian Ted McMillan here. He's projected for double-digit ownership, well into the teens. He's 6,000, so the price has come up. It is an ideal matchup, and like I said, I'm going to be playing some Bryce. So like I'll definitely get to some Ted McMillan, but I don't think that he's going to be my highest owned receiver.
I like him as a play. I kind of feel similarly to Neil, like where it's a good play, not one that like super jumps out to me. But I wonder if maybe we'll all feel that way, and he does go overlooked a little bit. But I mean, this is like I dug into the man zone stuff, and he's actually been better against man than zone, and the Cowboys play a bunch of zone, but like the Cowboys suck. Their defense sucks. Like that's like I was like, what am I? This doesn't matter. Like fundamentally, this defense can't stop people, and Ted McMillan is like the clear-cut number one on this team. Like he'll be fine. So yeah, I wonder he could be like one where we all get fancy play syndrome and just don't play the breakout rookie wide receiver number one on his team in an amazing spot.
Yeah. Just like another pairing that we maybe like coming in as high owned. We haven't mentioned either of these guys, like the pairing of Chris Olave and Stephon Diggs. Like thoughts on them individually, and then like if you wanted to save some money, put them in the lineup. They're 10,900 total. So Chris Olave, I think second in the NFL in targets, just 5,100 because he, of course, is getting the ball from Spencer Rattler and hasn't been doing anything with those
other guys are able to generate some touchdowns playing with Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, people are wondering now why Rashid Shaheed has 2 games with a greater half PPR score than Chris Olave at any point.
People are wondering.
No, I actually like not doing a bit. Shaheed, if like Olave is going to be the mid-tier wide receiver chalk, is like this. Jonathan Bales published this in his DFS for Dummies book 10 years ago to just play Shaheed instead of Olave. Like it's just it's so obvious why Shaheed would be massive leverage there.
Thoughts on Stephon Diggs?
I don't like chalk Olave here. I would agree. Just use the leverage with Shaheed. The Diggs I like. Waddle we haven't mentioned. Yeah. Waddle 6,100.
He got a good little price hike.
Yeah, but like he did it. Malik Washington's role sucked, right? Darren Waller's their number 2. I don't trust. Like Washington is always been in theory. Like when has he ever done anything? Like we're always like, oh, this guy. He
scored a rushing touchdown last year.
Cool.
The theory was like, oh, he'll do the ball in hand stuff, whatever, and then they just played Nick Westbrook-Akeen.
Yeah, it's like the role was like if you showed me his game log, I'd be like, and when is the game that like Tyreek Hill was gone, and they definitely are going to give him a ball. Like I have no idea, but you could tell in Waddles. And he's not going to have that much ownership this week. He's not like super expensive. That game environment is like not my favorite. I actually kind of do worry that the Chargers will go run heavy just to like protect Herbert because of the offensive line injuries. They're going to be out both tackles, and one of the tackles wasn't even supposed to be their tackle, because of the preseason injury. So, it's bad. They're going to like be on tackle 4 and 5, but you're looking at a potentially like super condensed offense on the Dolphins side, and Waddle. Waddle had something to prove last week. Step up, be like the true number 1, and he did. And it hasn't generated that much excitement in the fantasy community. Maybe it should.
There you
go.
All
right, I'm going to throw out an ugly name. I want see if anybody can like get uglier than this. What about Jacoby Myers? Is this the week?
I knew someone was gonna. I kneh someone.
How
was
the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I knew someone was going to say it, and there has to be, to me, a physical explanation. Like either he's got an unreported injury, he's at a certain age, or whatever. Like it's because it can't just be 3 straight weeks of him being a top 10 projected wide receiver value where he like. Because it's not like, oh, he's earning targets, but getting like this isn't even like a Olave level stinkage. This is like he's not getting the ball over Albert Akui-Bunum stinkage.
True. He does. Does he project super well point per dollar again? I haven't even looked.
Projections turned on him this week. I wrote it up as like, oh, these projection bros. They'll probably have him wide receiver 6.
Corain said, or was it you or Jacob that said, can you just have like a meeting of the 5 families of all the projections?
You did meeting of 5 families, and you did.
You did. Good for you.
I told everyone. I said we're sending his yards per route run and targets per route run down 25%. Put it in the back end. Come on. Let's just enough of this.
So this is the week he breaks out. I mean, when everybody turns on him, that's the week he breaks out. Let's be honest.
He certainly like it would be. Of course, this is the week Jacoby Myers breaks out. Like it's again, this is well trodden territory in DFS history.
I think I might have a grosser name. Calvin Ridley.
Ooh, same game too.
Yeah, same game and same kind of play, really.
Yeah,
but. Ridley last week, I was like, oh, he's hurt. He's banged up. I took an Imanor over in our ship chasing. Guess what? That didn't work. But Ridley was heavily targeted. 29% targets per route run. He's targeted deep with a 17.68 at 3.85 yards per route run. I wrote up this game, and it's like the Raiders play this like really predictable defense. They don't have a cluster of injuries, but they have this dude, Kayublu Kelly at cornerback. He's one of their starting outside cornerbacks who like absolutely stinks. He's just like, and he's getting like picked on. Like people are throwing at him constantly. So that's cool. You also have the Titans, the Raiders. Well, the Titans can't protect anybody, and specifically Cam Ward, and the Raiders can't rush any opposing quarterbacks. And so you get this like predictable coverage. They're sitting back in zone most of the time. Ali Connolly did this breakdown where he's pointing out that they do play man, but only when they blitz. And it's true. Like they're at like 88% zone coverage unless they blitz. And then they're at like 36% man there. So this is like, we kind of need Cam Ward to like go down a level, you know, like the NFL is like a little bit, his head's spinning a little bit. So like, what if we just like took him down one level to like a very, very, very basic defense that has holes at cornerback. And then we see if there's more there than he's been able to show. I think there might be. His efficiency ticked up last week. It still was bad, but it was against, a easier test than he's had in the Cardinals compared to some elite pass rushes to start the year with the Broncos and the Rams, and they had the Texans 2 weeks ago. So Ward has had some tough opposing defenses. He now gets a super soft one. I don't think you can play Ward. Maybe like large fields, late slate you could stack with Ward, but otherwise we're not doing that. But Ridley, I think, would be the way to play Ward, having like a little mini breakout game, or maybe even a true kind of like, oh, this guy's not a bust. This dude's got something kind of breakout game.
I really like that call, because I think we started the year saying like, well, Cam Ward has such a bad early schedule, and we're going to forget about him, right? By week 6, we're going to forget about Cam Ward, number 1 pick in the draft. But yeah, he started on the road at Denver, then had the Rams and the Colts at home, pretty good defenses, on the road against the Texans. Then week 5, like at Arizona, Calvin Ridley puts up 21 DraftKings points. Like, yeah, it's probably more of a Calvin Ridley play than a Cam Ward play. Like the Titans probably aren't as bad as they've looked, and this is their opportunity. Wow, that is an uglier name than Jacoby Myers. and it's more plausible, right? It's just 4,900. Oh God, you could even pair them together.
Oh no,
oh, no, please no.
You could.
I love it.
All right. So yeah, we'll move on to tight ends. Let's see. I guess anything at the position we do have, Trey McBride now probably catching passes from Kyler Murray rather than Jacoby Brissett. Get where we are. I think Pat will go to you. Any tight ends that stick out to you as plays, beyond just stacking with your quarterback?
Yeah, to me, I think it's McBride or Warren or maybe Hunter Henry, and otherwise you're punting. And we have a variety of punt options. You can go Tongas, you can go Michael Mayer, and you can go Hunter Long at 2,500 for the true punt, or like the 0 and you win a tournament type of punt. So the guy that I'm not as into is Tucker Kraft. I think he'll have some ownership. He's only 4,700, which is nice, but like this dude has gone nuts in yards after catch. I mean, he's really good, but I'm just kind of like, the role actually hasn't been that great, and I don't like this game environment. I think they're going to run a bunch. He'll be fine. I don't think he's going to like flop necessarily, but I don't know. I think is like kind of a chalkier piece with he's like that mid-level sort of chalk piece. I'd rather pay up probably for, honestly, I think I like Warren the most this week at 4,900, even more than McBride. He's just like, he's insulated in terms of game script because he's out there. He's been incredible on play action. He has a higher targets per out run on play action than Puka Nacua. Only Jake Ferguson is higher in targets per out run on play action among all receivers. So Tyler Warren is, that's like, it's good. It's good if they're, in the game script that we want them to be and that we expect them to be, where they're leading, because he'll be out there, with the play action stuff, which I've written about for the last couple of years, is also really good for tight end touchdown scoring, because they tend to run play action around the goal line. So that's awesome. But then, like, if this game were to become a shootout, then Warren would obviously have more dropback volume. So he kind of gets there in a variety of scripts, and he's really talented. And so he's probably my favorite play this week. But otherwise, it's probably like I'm stacking Henry with May, or I'm punting.
Tyler Warren got the red zone pass attempt last week, as well as
it was not a pass attempt.
Heads up play.
Yeah, he just smartly realized he was going to lose like 5 yards and threw it out of bounds, basically.
All right, so it was a rushing attempt. I was watching the play.
It was a rushing attempt.
They said something about heads up play, but I assumed it was a designed pass.
No, I think because he's not left-handed, right?
Yeah, it was lefty.
I believe he is left-handed.
He is left-handed. Okay. It was a good throw. So, but
it was a tight spiral.
Yeah, it was nice, but he just like hucked it out of the end zone. It was just to save the yards.
Obviously Tyler Warren is like the number one play. I like him better than Kraft. He just gets there in a variety of scripts. I really like Mayer and Hunter Long this week. It'd just be like, well, these dudes could luck into a touchdown as much as anyone else could, and they're stone. I mean, Hunter Long is the stone min, and it's a week that doesn't have a ton of good punts, and it allows you you could maybe even do a CMC Puka JSN lineup if you played Hunter Long, which feels pretty appealing to me.
Albert Okwegbenam ran a route on, and I can't believe I have to pronounce his name again. I thought we were done. He ran a route on 59% of dropbacks last week, which isn't a ton, but is like more than you would expect him to run. So it's like, I'm kind of viewing that as like his Michael Mayer's like floor, like a hard cap floor. Like he should be out there like 70% of routes.
The issue is Mayer is not very good. Mayer is kind of like he's kind of like a cardio king at tight end.
I think he's okay.
He's okay. I'm not saying he's terrible. I believe he was an MF and Mackey Award winner.
He was a really good prospect.
Yeah.
I was very into him as a prospect. So maybe that's probably, I'm kind of betting on that part of it a little bit too. But yeah, I like the Mayer punt. He's probably my favorite of the punt option. Hunter Long, I mean, you want to talk about a guy who's not very good. Like his career numbers suck. Like his yards per out run, I believe, is 0.71. And Johnny Munt mixed in last week. He had 14% route participation, but like I wouldn't be surprised if Hunter Long's like 65% of the routes and Munt actually sees more run. And I don't know. I'll probably have some lineups with him because he's 2,500, but I don't have much optimism.
I think he's going to get steamed. Like, he actually leads the Jags in receiving touchdowns with 2. But I think it's more of an indictment of like the Jaguars receiving than so far this season than a plug on Hunter Long. I think Long's actually going to gain ownership, and I think he's going to go over-owned. And I actually think like the punt play that we want is going to be Michael Mayer. Like I think Mayer is going to potentially do something.
I like that a lot because it's just easier to click 2,500 than it is 3,100.
Yeah,
much easier.
Yeah, but you're not going to do anything with the $600, so you might as well might as well find a way to just get Mayer in there.
If Jatavian Sanders is out, then I think you can play Tommy Tremble again. I don't feel as good about it as I did last week, but they're playing against the Cowboys. Like I think the matchup is good enough. Would require Jatavian Sanders being out for that to even be a play. I don't know why I brought that one up before. Nobody likes Jake Ferguson. Like Jake Ferguson is just being targeted a ton, and he's playing
second in the NFL in receptions.
Yeah, I mean, this is why are we not just going back to Jake Ferguson in a game environment that I guess Pat has a concern that maybe it's going to be a lot of running here, but man, the workload has been so good for Jake Ferguson with CeeDee Lamb out that I think I want to go back there a fair amount.
You're right. He's a good play. Yeah, no, he's a good play.
Okay.
Even with the game, like my thing with that game environment is more that like I thought I was going to be pumped about it, and I'm like, it's good.
Okay. Yeah, you're not like completely out.
I'm not completely out.
What do you guys think of David Njoku? First game with Dylan Gabriel, he saw 24.2, led the team in target share, 24.2%, scored the touchdown. Maybe this is the quarterback he needs to and maybe is on the trade market they're trying to showcase him a little bit. I don't know. There's some narratives in favor of David Njoku, not super expensive. Anybody have interest there?
I have to recuse myself on this one.
No, I like him. I like him and Mr. Duckfoot. I think they're both totally playable.
I can just like he runs so many more routes than Harold Fannin, but if you look at like the per game stuff, like target share and air yard share and like expected fantasy points stuff, they're like exactly the same.
Except for last week. Except for last week.
But for the season, they're like exactly the same. So I was like, can you just play Fannin more, please? But
right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Njoku's a much safer bet for routes. I'll give you that. Only 3,500
wide point total for the Browns in Pittsburgh. I think like tight end, like I want to like tight end is a position where you can potentially get there. Like Hunter Long just gets there with a touchdown. So like I think the implied point total means a lot to me for tight end. Just like the fact that the Browns might score 12 points on 4 field goals, in Pittsburgh.
Jesus.
And that could even win the game. So yeah, I think Njoku's like a guy that at some point with Dylan Gabriel will want to play Njoku. I'm just not sure it's like this week.
It might be next week. They get the Dolphins. They're at home against the Dolphins. That's
yeah, that'll be nice.
Gabriel, I don't think is bad. I think, but I don't really want him. It's just, I think they're going to be able to get to the Browns' offensive line sucks, and they're just going to be getting the ball out super quick this week, and I think it's be boring. And yeah,
I'll throw out a name. What about K. Dotton? Right, we wait on K. Dotton until the Bucks are absolutely ravaged with wide receiver injuries.
Yeah.
It's here. We saw what he did. I think it was last year where Godwin and Evans were injured, and he starts getting these double-digit target games. Do we think that the could be K. Dotton week, for Tampa Bay against San Francisco?
They still haven't
waiting until Tez gets hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Igbukka mid-game.
Igbukka and Sterling Shepard, I think, at this point. Kate Otten, 8% targets per route run on 88% of the routes for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year.
I mean, and that's been his entire career, except for that one little slice where all the receivers are out.
What I respect about Kate Otten is that that's what he does. That's his normal. But then when it's he's like, all right, I got to do it. He goes nuts. It's he just.
Kate Otten won a Millie Maker at I think he was 5,800, maybe 60. He was something. He was the most expensive tight end in the slate, and he was on the Millie Waker winning lineup on DraftKings.
That's so wild. Yeah, I think I mean, in all honesty, I think Ibuka has to be out, and then he would be Gronk.
All right. Almost been an hour. We'll move on to final thoughts. Any hot takes? Any final thoughts? Davis, we'll start with you. Final thoughts on the slate before we get out of here.
I honestly feel like it's just a very interesting slate because you've got the 3 guys who are all projected insane, right? So you have Puka, CMC, 4 guys. So you have Puka, CMC, Jonathan Taylor, JSN, who are projected bands and bands, standard deviations better than everyone else. Then on my sheet, I have got over 30 players projected between 14 and 19 and a half PPR points. So it really kind of is a choose your own adventure. You want to do this stack and it's within 7 points of the optimal, basically go for it. I would say obvious spots to avoid is if the field decides Emeka Egbuka is going to be as owned as JSN, he's probably not great, just avoid some of the obvious secondary chalk spots.
I'll give my thought, just kind of riding off of that we started the year with Christian McCaffrey at 7,300. Puka was 7,600, right? All these guys that are kind of the reliable receptions are now $1,500 more expensive than they were. So week 1, maybe it was just put Christian McCaffrey in your lineup. Don't think about it. Now is maybe as the season goes on, better to stack, right? You need the correlation, the breakout correlation from your whole lineup, because you can't just put Christian McCaffrey in or put Puka Nacua in.
25 points at that salary just doesn't get you in the optimal anymore.
Yeah, but at 7,300, maybe a 25-point Christian McCaffrey, you were competitive. But now if you're putting Christian McCaffrey in, you need to be thinking, well, do I also want to play somebody from Tampa Bay? That game's got to take it. Christian McCaffrey can't put up 23 points and land on the winning lineup at 8,400. Neil, your thoughts?
No, I think you nailed it. That is the best note on this slate is that we should be over correlating game stacks, especially for large field tournaments, for exactly the reason you laid out. We just don't have the absolute smashes. Even I love Josh Jacobs on the slate at 7,300. It's not can't fail in the way that Christian McCaffrey was at the same price tag. So yeah, I think that you nailed it, that we just need to be game stacking. We also have a bunch of games that are similar in terms of their total, but you can see the potential for it to go off. So I think this is a great slate for game stacking.
No, I was going to make the same point. So you guys nailed it. But the other thing, it's 10 games. There's 10 games on this slate. So, one, finding that right game that goes off could really separate you. And I think, being willing to kind of think a little bit outside the box, I am looking at this Titans Raiders game and wondering if maybe that could be a little more interesting than, because these are like the two bad teams that maybe push each other. You know, they both stink. Like maybe like they're not putting up points, but like against each other's defenses, they might. The 49ers Bucks, we didn't like talk a ton about, but like I could see that game being very high scoring ultimately. Chargers Dolphins could be interesting. Patriots Saints could be interesting. So there's a number of games where like my favorite is the Seahawks Jags, which we talked about, but I don't think you want to get like too locked in on any one game environment, and like, I don't know, kind of keep an open mind to some of these game environments depending on where other people are going to go. If some of these are going to get steamed and some are going to get left by the wayside, I could see, you know, getting on a contrarian stack being a real key to the week.
On that note, that'll do it for this week. Good luck to everybody this weekend. Hope to see you at the top of the leaderboards, and we will catch you next time.